And Zach Hubbard has 9,000 Patreons. Holy fuck, that's crazy.
Okay, so let me rephrase what you just said. A mentally ill individual who's off his meds has 9,000 Patreons. He's making around $12,000 to $18,000 a month by spewing absolute mentally deranged bullshit into the ether, and people eat it up like freaking Wheaties.
He hypnotizes people and then sends them to his Patreon.
His voice is so annoying, though. What you just said to me is that a mentally deranged individual is utilizing suspect techniques to con mentally deranged individuals into submitting to his particular form of mental derangement.
Mm-hmm.
Am I wrong?
If you want the answer, you're going to have to pay for Patreon.
Oh, no. I don't have to, because I have deductive reasoning on my side. Sherlock Holmes taught me how to do this.
Maybe you need to donate some freaking money. Donate. Maybe you need to donate some freaking money. Maybe you need to donate some freaking money. Donate. Maybe you need to donate some freaking money. Donate some freaking money.
Please hit the like if you haven't. So, last night, where the fuck's my ashtray? I just had to launch that ash into the trash can. I made it. All right. So last night I mentioned several times overload induction hypnosis, but I didn't really get into it a lot because, well, I don't know. There's a lot of people talking, a lot of shit going on. So I want to get into it a little bit more here. And sort of share that with you, because this is what I believe Zach is doing. I don't know if Zach believes himself. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and assume that he does. But whether or not he knows what he's doing, I do believe that this is actually what's happening to his audiences. Overload induction hypnosis is... Here, I'm going to read this to you. From Best Hypnosis Scripts. The overload induction script is designed for anxious clients and hard to hypnotize people. It works by focusing their attention on what they see or hear or physically feel. You can force them to attend to too many different things at the same time. This overloads their minds. The overload induction works for any clients, but is especially useful for clients who can't go into a trance normally. For resistant clients, it stops the intrusive thoughts that interfere with trance. Hypervigilant clients are too busy scanning for threats to listen to your hypnotic suggestions. Over-analytical clients are fully involved in testing every line you say for logical inconsistencies. All these types find that the overload induction gives them so many things to keep track of that it actually leads them into a trance. The script shows how to use whatever is happening in the environment. You get the client to focus on each input as it occurs, piling on the sensory inputs and without giving them time to deal with any one sensation before moving on. It works because it overwhelms their internal dialogue. It gives them too many suggestions to keep track of them all. And so their mind just gives up, stops trying, and accepts whatever you say. Use the overload induction script when dealing with analytical and hypervigilant clients. Switch to it immediately if you feel that your client is not responding to your normal induction. Guess I better get some volume on this guy.
You about the confusion hypnosis method. If I were to give
confusion hypnosis and overload induction are the same thing.
You the suggestion right now, every day I feel more confident than the day before. Lots of people, especially analytical people, would be able to rebel and resist against that suggestion. It's easy to resist or fight against it as you hear it. But if I gave you two sets of suggestions simultaneously like this, I feel more confident anything than that may arise. It would be more difficult to resist because there's two sets of suggestions. Now, how about if I gave you three sets of suggestions simultaneously like this? I feel more confident any decision making may arise. Now, when you hear those suggestions, you can follow one set of suggestions, but the other two tend to fade away, kind of.
And so even though with somebody like Zach, when he's going through his Gematria things, he's not hitting you with overlapping language simultaneously. He is hitting you with rapid fire with sequential language, numbers, and then history, right? So you've got tangible, you've got chronology, you've got language, you've got numbers or math. And so, you know, the language center of your brain is what is it? The left side is analytical, right side is linguistic. So to jump from linguistic to mathematic mentally is quite the task. And when you just pop at people and jump them back and forth, whiplash, that's too much to keep track of. This is why, if you noticed during the debate last night, Zach Hubbard, and I'll pull up some clips in a minute. Zach Hubbard, anytime he was asked a question, right, Andrew handled it exactly correctly. He would focus on each point, slow down, and let's analyze the accuracy of this statement. Zach never wanted to do that because that is what he wants Andrew to do mentally, but he doesn't want to be slowed down in his delivery. And so every time Zach was asked a specific question, his response would always be to go back into ... He'd go straight back to trying to hypnotize the audience. He wants them to follow each, or he wants them to attempt to follow each claim mentally, but he doesn't want to slow down and show it with them. The Gematria is the tool of hypnosis.
Of like white noise. Then you can follow the second set of suggestions, but the first and third one fade away. It's kind of like if you were in a group of people at a party and they're all having different conversations. You can hear what one's saying if you focus on them, but everybody else kind of fades away. Then you can focus on another couple and hear what they're saying and understand it, but the others fade away. You can't listen to every one of them consciously and understand what all of them are saying. So what happens is while you're listening to one, all the other suggestions go straight to the subconscious mind. So when I was giving you one set of suggestions, the other two sets were being accepted if you were resisting the first one. If you weren't resisting them, you were accepting all three sets of suggestions. So that's the confusion method. You can record some positive affirmations or suggestions for yourself and play them back while you're at work, busy around the house, even relaxing at home, or even while you're sleeping. You may have noticed while I'm speaking right now that there's some suggestions being given in the background while you're learning.
And here's a link to this video, fair use and all that stuff. So the point of hypnosis, not every hypnotic state is one that's all the way like in the cartoons, right? All the way conked out. Damn it. I saw my little internet signal beacon flashing for a second. Not every hypnotic state is all the way out. There are different degrees of them, and people go into them all the time throughout the day. But if you ever notice, like, think about a football game. When you come back from a commercial break at a football game, what happens? There's the graphic, the swirling graphic. Welcome to the NFL, Monday Night Football, and it sort of swirls little icons in. That is a hypnotic visual. These things happen all the time. But if anybody who's sat and listened to Zach for very long will probably recognize the brain numb, right? And this is actually what kind of cued me off to even go looking down this line of thought. Is I recognize that the more I'd listen to Zach, the more I just kind of lull out. The point of hypnosis is to bypass your conscious critical thinking capacity and communicate directly with your subconscious. That's why hypnotherapy works for a lot of people, is because your subconscious, as much as we like to think that we're intelligent and in charge of ourselves and analytical and logical and all that stuff, the lion's share of our thinking and behavior is done subconsciously by our subconscious mind and our subconscious beliefs. So if you can interact with those and bypass the logical, I'm gonna have to get that ashtray over here, and bypass the critical thinking center, then you can communicate directly with someone's subconscious. And your subconscious mind doesn't filter things for true or false the way that your conscious mind does. So if you hypnotize somebody and then say, join my Patreon, they're going to probably go join your Patreon. Now let me pull up a demonstration of the confusion or overload induction method in action. We can watch it happening. And most of the time it is a physical in-person thing, but it doesn't need to be. But this example is a physical one.
Okay, so Simon and myself are going to do a demonstration of a rapid, actually shock induction today called confusion technique. Okay, so this is the confusion induction. I'm going to go through it with Simon. I'm going to show you. Yep. Any health issues? Stand and he's ready, and that's the safety and reassurance as well. So what I want you to do, Simon, okay, I want you to focus on my finger. Yeah. In a moment, I'm going to ask you to follow my finger with your eyes. If you can try and keep your head still and just follow with your eyes, okay? Yeah. And I want you to take my hand as well. Okay, so just follow my finger. That's right. Keep focusing on the finger. Focus on that finger. Focus on that finger.
The confusion is because he's got the finger. He's focusing on the finger mentally, but he's got his hand going physically. So that's two different directions.
Focus on that finger. Sleep. Okay. And your body will just keep you in a perfectly upright, safe position then as you go deeper and deeper and deeper in wonderful state of hypnosis. That sleep can just fill you now from the top of your head to the very tips of your toes. And with your breath, and even every sound of my voice, every touch, every moment, you can move deeper and deeper and deeper into a wonderful state of hypnosis, 10 times deeper, 20 times deeper. And you can lazily drift and drift lazily down into a wonderful deep state of hypnosis. And I'm going to let go of you in a moment, and you'll stand there perfectly still, perfectly supported, perfectly safe all the time. And just standing there and feeling yourself stood there and feeling the floor beneath your feet will go deeper and deeper and deeper into a wonderful state of wonderful focus. Notice Simon quickly stood there with his eyes wide open. It doesn't matter. It's a state of focus. In that particular induction, the mechanics of that induction are you doing two opposite things. Following the finger, following your hand. That's confusing. And then the jolt on his hand, that's the shock. And that's the thing that kind of, with the sleep, is that shock induction. You notice my jolt wasn't very big. I didn't kind of yank his arm. That's because you don't need to. It just needs to be a gentle shock, and it's safer just to make it a gentle shock. I then had my hands out straight away because sometimes people will move like this when they go into that induction, when they first go into hypnosis. Just need to make sure they're safe. It's always a good idea to make sure there's nothing around that can hurt or harm them if they do fall. And maybe with this.
All right, so we're not practitioners. We're not actually going to be hypnotizing anybody, so we don't need to know the safety things. So with Zach, what could be the jolt? Go to my Patreon. 42, the Queen of England, event 201, come to the pattern, come to the pattern, come to the pattern. You want to make money at sports? Come to my Patreon. It's a shift in topics. It also hits you in the greed spot, right? It appeals to people's greed. Everybody wants money. Everybody wants easy money. Nobody doesn't want that. Here's your shock out of this. out of this pattern, out of this hypnotic pattern of trivial facts, right? And then boom, self-interest. But if you can't go quickly, if you've got an opponent like Andrew who keeps slowing you down and addressing each point independently, you're never going to get somebody hypnotized. Although, you know, if I were to guess, I would think that Andrew would probably be the right audience for confusion induction hypnosis. He's obviously analytical. He seems like he's probably hypervigilant as well. So if Zach was able to get loose and run with it, I think that he would have a good chance of inducing somebody with Andrew's mindset if they were unaware, right? Obviously, Zach made a huge misstep by taking this debate at all. He should have known better. He should have been able to suss out that Andrew's not gonna go for this. Hold on, let me pull that up.
Could be right about this. Demonstrate this for you. 16 U.S. election. Wrong again. Trump assassination. 16 U.S. election. Demonstrate this for you. Do you have
Kennedy?
Oh, hang on.
Out, it equates to 660. Make a point about.
Yeah, so why is it that we should put value on this one word? Like, for instance, why would it need to say shun? Why couldn't it just say een? Why couldn't it be ine instead of tion? Why not? Why does that not equal 666? It sounds like selection bias, right?
Well, again, we can get into the ciphers and
there are, I don't know how many ciphers there are entirely. On the was it Gematrix or Gematrinator? One of those websites, one of the main ones, has 31 cipher options available to choose from. Zach and the Gematria crew claim that they really use basically 4, but they'd certainly pull in other ones when they needed to. They also like to focus on sports, which, of course, for obvious reasons, sports has more numbers available to them. You've got games constantly. Every game has a different date. You've got players. Every player has a number on their jersey. You've got all sorts of sports to choose from. You got scores in the game. You got points scored by each player. You got, you know, the number of numbers that can be extracted from sports in its entirety, when combined with 31 ciphers, is damn near endless. But he doesn't stick to just ciphers and gematria. He's not just decoding numbers. He also adds in phonetics. I know in last night's debate he tried to say the Bible is a book of numbers. One of the books is the book of numbers, and even Matthew contains the word math. Well, that's nothing more than a phonetic overlap. Matthew and math aren't even spelled the same, much less do they have any same meaning. So the ways that you can construct a gematria landscape, in hindsight especially, are almost endless. I put it back on the shelf. I do have Zach's book. And his book is a lot like his speaking. It just sort of da 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 da, and then 42, and then 34, and then 48 presidents. You know, it just kind of prattles through for a whole book's length. It never explains why we have the meaning that we can derive from numbers. It never explains how we know the Jesuits are behind it. It just points out well, not even patterns. I wouldn't even call them patterns, because there's very little consistency to even the string of connections. You've got dates, you've got times, you've got names, phonetics, numbers, all different ciphers. He just makes connections. Do. And so I believe, I don't know for sure. I can't know for sure, but I'm almost certain when he's interacting with people, when he's speaking on his channel or debating, however, he's looking at something either on his desktop or beside him. And he's just reading the script. He's reading the induction script. He doesn't have time to slow down and answer questions. If you've seen him on Chaotic Truth or whatever, frequently he'll ignore questions entirely. I had to slide my gain all the way up last night at one point and go, Zach, you know, because he just wants to ignore that shit and keep rambling and get you into the hypnotic state.
And the other variations of the word vaccine and where this all ties together. But
God, I can't stand him for that shit. None of this is medical advice.
To make a point about 666 and also the date that the simulation happened in light of the Christian lens, again, for anyone who wants to look this up, CladeX was the first simulation of two simulations about the C-19 pandemic. And again, the first simulation was May 15th, 2018, exactly 666 days before the pandemic was declared on March 11th, 2020. Now, the thing about May 15th is the majority of the world writes that date 15/5 like 155. If you just take the most simple cipher, the alphabetic order, and you spell out the actual name of the virus, CORONA, virus, spell that word out, it equates to 155.
I also suspect that a couple things about this, because this motherfucker's been on YouTube much longer than I have. He knows what you can and can't do. I think that he drops landmines places on purpose. I think that the reason he's had 20-some accounts deleted is intentional. If you are in this game and you're shilling people or scamming people, I shill, he scams, and you're scamming people, you don't want them to have access to all of your past failures. So what do? Start a new channel. I don't know if he's bought subs, but all his channels are very big. Start a new channel, buy some subs to stack it, start it off, make it look good, and then you keep doing this, and then they blow up behind you, and you move on to another one, and then you say, well, look, they keep censoring me because I'm obviously so right. It just adds to the delusion or the illusion, while also obfuscating past failures. I think it's okay. Yeah, I said at the beginning that I was going to give him the benefit of the doubt. That was a mistake. I don't give him the benefit of the doubt. I think that he's intentionally being deceptive.
The same simple cipher, Christianity, equates to 155. Now in Sumerian gematria, where you multiply times 6, they both equate to 930. And Andrew, why would 930 be interesting in light of Christianity?
I don't know how much it costs to buy subs, but I'm not under the impression it's very expensive.
Well, hang on. Before we get into that.
Oh, hold on. No, let me finish my point if you don't know the answer.
Well, you just asked me a question.
Right. I'd like you to answer the question.
I have no idea. Why would 930 be relevant to Christianity?
In Protestant Bibles, the Christian section begins with Matthew 1:1, which is the 930th chapter of the Bible.
Okay.
The 930th chapter is where the Christian section begins.
Mm-hmm.
And again, what is the first book of the Bible called?
Our hotel is the best in the world. At the end of the week, you will be an
Genesis.
That's true in the Old Testament. Excuse me. What's the first book of the New Testament called?
What's it called?
Matthew.
Okay.
Matthew. But you hear the word math in it. And how does Matthew begin?
How does it begin?
It begins with the 42 generations to Jesus, correct?
Well, let's take a look and see if that's how Matthew begins.
Well, I thought you would know as a Christian. Matthew does begin with the first 42 generations.
No. We can't slow down. Don't want you to slow down. Let's throw a jab in here. How do you not know that you're a Christian?
Let's pull it. Hang on. Let's pull it up. So you have to be very specific here, right?
And
So I just want to make sure. I just want to make sure that what you're saying to me is actually true. So just hang tight. We'll pull it
Well,
up.
he's looking that up. Also, I let him get away with his little cheap shot about things we've gotten wrong. You guys should look into the resume of the things we've gotten right. It's unprecedented and it's undeniable. And we can come back to what he brought up in the beginning because it also wasn't quite accurate what he said.
How the fuck do we look into that record, Zach? You keep getting all your channels deleted.
But if you're going to try and discredit my work based on a few things we got wrong in the early days of the research, you should take
Now, hang on. I just want to make sure.
track record over the last 11 years.
The book of So let's go back. The book of Matthew, right, starts with the words, "This is genealogy of Jesus, Messiah, son of David, son of Abraham." Why is that relevant to this?
I'm making the point about why the New Testament begins with the 42 generations to Jesus. Again, the Bible is a book of numbers.
Okay.
And Matthew, you hear it in the name, the word math.
Uh-huh.
So for your audience who's not familiar with
Wait a minute. The word math is in the word Matthew, and you think that has relevance?
well, I'm going to make a point how it clearly does.
Okay, go ahead.
Again, the 4 base ciphers of the English language. I learned this from Manly P. Hall's The Secret Teachings of All Ages, published in 1926.
Yeah, Manly C. Hall, the occultist, right?
P.
P. Hall, sorry, the occultist.
He wrote a lot about the occult.
He was an occultist, yeah.
Sure.
And a demon summoner.
Pulled over by the occult.
Yeah, I'm just, no, he was an occultist himself.
That's also true, but I think he was trying to shed light on the fact that the occult is what controls the nation.
Can I ask?
Okay. So anyways.
And yeah, Manly P. Hall did. I'm sure he wasn't an occultist. I don't know about a demon summoner. If that is what I expect Christian to say, Assange Christian. But I don't remember what the point was. I stopped this for. Oh, probably just to point out that like I got Zach's book. I got the books that he's referencing to give himself clout. I'm familiar with this shit. Many times throughout the night, Zach and his little hypnotized nitwits tried to say, "You just don't understand. You don't know what you're talking about." Motherfucker, I know exactly what you're talking about. Exactly.
Like, it's not the word math, right? It's MATTH.
Right.
Right.
Would
you acknowledge that?
Would you disagree that the pronunciation has the word math in it?
Sure. So it has math in it. Go ahead.
I'm going to make the point. So the 4 base ciphers of the English language are the alphabetic order. A is 1 up to Z is 26. The reverse alphabetic order, Z is 1 back to A is 26. And both orders with numerology applied. So there's 4 base ciphers. So if you have a word value, you'll get 4 numerical values. And these systems are related. And it does seem that there's something to all 4 values. For example, Barack Hussein Obama, if you take the value of his name in all 4 ciphers and add the 4 together, the 4 values equate to 666. It's interesting because the day he was called president-elect, the pick 3 in Chicago, their little lottery, the pick 3 that day was 666. And his birthday is the 216th day of the year, where 6 times 6 times.
Rocky, I am explaining it right fucking now. That's what this stream is me explaining that you're being hypnotized. These numbers don't have correlation. There's nothing here. It's just a tool to get you confused so that you fall into a hypnotic state so that you're easy to grift. You're easy to scam. Hey, hypnotize people, go to my Patreon. What do you mean explain it then? That's what I'm fucking doing. Bex has a word tree. Smith. Yes, Smith. 1000%.
6 is 216. But coming back to the Matthew part, the word math with the alphabetic order is 42. With the reverse alphabetic order, the word math is 66. Protestant Bibles end with the 66th book. The word New Testament, or the words New Testament, with the alphabetic order and numerology, New Testament is 42. With the reverse alphabetic order and numerology, New Testament is 66. The word new also has the 42 connection. We can come back to the 42, but the point I'm making is, and just for the record, Matthew equates to 27, like there's 27 books in the New Testament.
Yeah, but how come we don't? Yeah, so how come you're using for this 66 books instead of 27 books?
Well, there's 66 books in the whole Bible. There's
26. There's 27 books in the New Testament.
Correct. Matthew.
So how come we side with 66 over 27?
Well, I'm just looking at the complete Protestant Bible.
Yeah, but why?
Because that's the way the book is.
Yeah, but why are you looking at that is my question. So again, it sounds to me like you're tying unrelated facts together for no particularly good reason. What is the relevancy of the Bible itself having, the Protestant Bible having 66 books? How is that actually relevant? Why shouldn't we instead say, no, the Protestant Bible has 27 books, and then the Old Testament has X amount of books, and then we decipher it that way rather than using 66?
It is one complete text. I mean, it's hard to get a Bible that's just the New Testament. I have
No,
a
it
King
isn't.
James version right here.
Yeah, it's not hard to
King
get a
James.
Bible that's just the New Testament. That's not true.
But
One.
just
And
for
two,
the record about what I'm saying, again, the King James Bible.
why do we go? Please answer my question. This is my question. I'm going to repeat it for you. Why is it that when you put the cipher together, you don't go with the 27 books of the New Testament instead of going with the 66 books total? Why instead go with the 66? How did you come to the realization you should go with 66 instead of 27?
If you can give me a minute here to answer your question and put it together, I just want you to see how it's all connected. So I'm sure you're aware of the star athlete who's known as King James, correct? LeBron.
That's another good method he does. He's asked a question specifically. He's like, okay, I'm going to explain it. I'll explain that right now. And he starts into another one of his fucking patterns. Here's the explanation. Pay attention to this. Pay attention to this, right? The pendulum. Do. I would be very interested to see how much, if his Patreon grew last night. I'm sure it grew some just from exposure, but even though Zach looked like a dumb fuck during the debate to most people, I think, the idea that he's trying to hypnotize people and he wants access to a bigger audience to hypnotize, he might not even give a fuck about debate about what Andrew thinks or Sarah thinks or I think. We're not his target audience. He might just give a fuck about the portion of the Crucible crew that is hypnotizable to this. It is possible. I don't know. Although I'm gonna take a guess because by the time I jumped off, not even last night, this morning, Zach was still on there, and he just didn't. He had sort of checked out. Like he just didn't. He looked a little ragged.
LeBron James played for the Cavaliers. Cavaliers in history named after King Charles, who was the son of King James. LeBron, when he won his first NBA Finals.
I've never heard anybody call LeBron James King James, dude. Ever.
That's his nickname, King James. He won the only final for the Cavs on the real King James' birthday, June 9th.
So I don't watch sports. You could be right about this, that his nickname is King James, right? You could be, and I could just not. Hang on. It's really important that we go through this an item at a time because you do like to do this thing, sir, and you can't say I haven't given you plenty of speaking time. But I actually really do need you to concisely tie these points together for the purpose of the debate, or we can't get anywhere.
I'm going to.
Do it concisely, please. Go ahead.
I'm going to, because what people need to understand about my work is I'm showing how these people use the Bible as a playbook in ritualism, from the news, like a scandemic, to your rigged sports leagues, to a 9/11, for example, where the Tower of Babel story ends in Genesis 11:9.
Just please answer the question. That's all I'm looking for. Just looking for the answer to the question.
King James was born in 1566, okay?
Okay.
LeBron equals 66. LeBron James also equals 66. The first time LeBron won a finals, they just happened to shorten that season to 66 games. Just so happened to be that way. The first time that King James wins the finals. And of course, they do call him King James. I'm sorry you don't know that. His first ever NBA game was against the Kings.
Yeah, but they also call him the Akron Hammer and the L Train. Why don't you go with those?
All of these things do apply. I can come back to that. He was born in Akron along with.
How does the L Train translate over to being tied into King James, though?
Just let me finish this point about 66 and 27.
Mm-hmm.
When he won the finals for the Cavs on the real King James's birthday, June 19th, 2016, that was LeBron's it was the Cavaliers' 103rd game of the season, which is the 27th prime number. LeBron scored 27 in the game, and 27 days later, his father died, who was Nate Thurmond, who was born in Akron along with him and Steph Curry. And Stephen, if you look up the meaning of that name, it means crown, which fits in with the king. Also, if you look what happened before LeBron won that game, the actor Anton Yelchin died at 27. And if you look at the day he was born, the date of numerology for his birth was also 103. Again, the point I'm making, which might seem a little bit complicated, is these people do perform wicked rituals, and they do use these numbers.
Can you please explain to me why you went with the number 66 for the tie-in for this instead of the number 27?
Well, I'm showing you how they use 66 and 27.
I don't care why they use 66 or 27. Can you repeat my question to me so I know you understand it?
Hey everyone, wanted to tell you about one of the best deals we have going on the internet right now. It's the buy one, get one free deal.
You're asking.
If you're a club owner member on Patreon, which is the link I'm sorry, not on Patreon, on Ko-fi, which is the link I just dropped a minute ago, or if you're a club owner member on the Powder Dusty, I just posted the StreamYard link. I am at this time going to keep the call-ins limited to, well, we'll see, but that is up for club owner members on both YouTube and Ko-fi.
asking me why would I look at 66, the whole length of the Bible, versus 27, which is the books in the New Testament.
Why? So can you answer that question?
Because both numbers apply to the book, clearly.
Yeah, but why? Yeah, okay.
Section.
Okay, but do you agree that some parts of the Bible, for instance, could just have certain things which are relationary chapter by chapter? Why not calculate all the chapters, for instance, and use that instead of using the total amount of books? Why is it that you use you use the totality, you say 66, or did you say 27? Why not calculate it chapter by chapter instead? Or how about a calculation of every single word that's printed in there? Or how about the calculation of every single word that's printed in there in Old English versus the new English version?
Exactly. You can use any method you want. There are so many ways to get to the number you're looking for. It's crazy.
Why not utilize those?
One of the examples I heard him give was the number of laps you would have to do around a stadium. I don't remember what stadium. A stadium to get to a mile or some shit like that. It was just wild.
Things instead of this. The reason I'm asking the question of why you use this as the foundation is so that I can make a determination as to whether there's good reasoning behind why you actually did that, or if you're just utilizing it so that you can correlate it with other loosely correlated facts, many of them not even correlated, in order for you to affirm your bias. So why did you go with that specifically? Why?
Because they are pertinent numbers to the book. And for anyone who knows about the Bible, the New Testament is based in the Old Testament, including Revelation being entirely based on what's in the Old Testament. And just for the record,
that doesn't answer the question. That doesn't tell me why you're using that. So the foundation for this, you start with this, right? It's interesting that the Bible has 66 books. The Protestant Bible has 66 books. Why is that interesting? Well, it's interesting because of these other loosely correlated facts that I can calculate out to 66. But we haven't answered the question as to why it is that the Bible having 66 books has any fucking relevancy to anything in the first place, other than you want it to.
Well, 66 is the 11th triangular number. And in numerology, 11 is the master number. And just for the record, your spiritual figure, Jesus, which is not his traditional name, it's the newer, more invented English name, Jesus has 11 encoded in it. And well, 66 is the 11th triangular number. And in numerology, 11 is the master number. And just for the record, your spiritual figure, Jesus, which is not his traditional name, it's the newer, more invented English name, Jesus has 11 encoded in it. And for the
now, I back that up because 11, the master number, encoded in Jesus. I think it's relevant to point out here that my life path number, which is your main numerology number, is an 11. And I was born on the 11th. So you can trust me. I've got that double 11 energy.
The record, Revelation equates to 121, which has a square root of 11. So a major emphasis on 11 in the spiritual figure of the New Testament, the 66th book.
It's not answering my question of why you're using the Bible as a foundation, 66 books to begin with. Why?
Because that's how many books it is. And
yeah, but that doesn't mean anything. It's like me saying this, okay? So if I were to say to you, there are 20 cigarettes in a pack, right? There's 20 cigarettes in a pack. And if I add that 20 cigarettes in a pack to the 12 beers that are in this 12 pack of beers, I get this number. And that's correlated with blah, 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 blah. That's all well and good. But why did I start with using the cigarettes in the pack to begin with? Why? That's my question to you. Foundationally, why are you starting with this at all?
So for people who do not understand where this knowledge comes from, it is pertaining to the Bible. Traditionally, this study relates to the Hebrew alphabet and the Torah, the first 5 books of the
Look within corrected me. He says, it doesn't mean we can trust you. It just means you can manifest shit easier. I'm okay with that. I'll accept that. You should still trust me, though.
Bible. It's very obvious that as time went on and this knowledge spread, for anyone who looks into the Templars, the story is that they brought back this knowledge from the Holy Lands after the Crusades and brought it to the church. It appears that the English language, along with the calendar, was a newer invention of this system, truly a system put in place, and seemingly for world domination, because this code traces all through history from the end of the.
Why are we starting with the Protestant 66 books of the Protestant Bible? Why are we starting with that as a baseline to build these numbers up to begin with? Why?
Again, I'm answering why the Protestants were given this 66 book Bible.
I don't care why they were given it. That's not my question. My question, I will assume God himself came down and gave it to them. He handed it to them on a silver platter.
I was trying to get my formats right. You're on screen. I just
yeah, I see it hopping all around. I wasn't going to say anything till you were done. Yeah, because right before when he was started, he said you disregard the Old Testament. It don't count. You start with the New Testament. Well, if you're disregarding the Old Testament to begin with, then you can't use 66 as a starting point.
Yeah, he can use what he uses, just whatever the hell he wants,
Whatever fits.
Yeah, because ultimately the point is to get you hypnotized, and that at that point, like, you don't even give a fuck about it. Katie, will you hand me the where's Zach's book? I put it on the right side of the middle shelf right there, I think. It's called By the Number. Oh yeah, that's the one. Thank you.
Oh my God, you're gonna read it?
How
big is that book? Oh, good Lord! Holy cow!
It's 360 pages about.
Wow.
360. If you drop a zero like numerology, that's 3636. What is that? 666.
There you go.
Like the 66 books of the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Join my Patreon.
For the purpose of the mathematical breakdown in this numerological set, we're going to consider this a set being X amount of correlated pieces equal X number, and the X number is then the thing that we're after. That's what we're solving for. But we have to have a reason to start with numero uno, the first thing that we start with, right? So if I'm going to calculate 1 + 1, for instance, to equal 2, I have to start with a reason to count 1, right? There has to be some reason for me counting 1. What is the reason we're starting foundationally with the 66 books of the Bible in order to draw these correlations to begin with? Why?
Again, I think I'm explaining it. I think it's you who's not grasping it.
There he goes. That's that peer pressure shit. Any smart person will obviously understand what I mean when I say da 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 da. Hypnotize you, motherfucker. This is actually, and Dustin makes a good point that I hadn't even caught. The irony of using the Protestant canon when Jesuits are supposed to be counter-Protestant and securing Roman Catholic supremacy. Very good call, Dustin. That is actually they are specifically counter-Protestant. The Jesuits, at least that's how they were originally formed. I went to a Jesuit high school, so of course.
But wait a minute. He's using Protestant, but he blames the Jesuits.
That's right? What I'm saying. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and just to give him a little freebie, I did go to a Jesuit high school, so there you go, Zach. Now you can say the whole reason that I'm talking shit on Gematria is because I work for the Jesuits and I'm in on it.
But I thought you were Jewish.
I'm just a grifter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe you need to donate some freaking money. Donate. Maybe you need to donate some freaking money. Maybe you need to donate some freaking money. Donate. Maybe you need to donate some freaking money. Donate some freaking money.
Now what brain damage is this? Just to clarify, I wasn't raised Catholic. I just went to a Catholic high school in Kansas. Not that anybody probably cares, but in Kansas City, the public school system here, at least when I was growing up, was terrible. It wasn't even accredited until I think the 2000s, well after I was graduated. And so as an alternative, there's a lot of private Catholic schools around here that people send their kids to if they can.
Are you talking about Kansas City, Missouri, or Kansas City, Kansas?
Missouri. I'm
that's what
from
I
the
thought.
Missouri side. Yeah.
Because even in St. Louis, a lot of the public schools did not have accreditation.
Flo, you are missing his whole tactic. That's a pretty bold claim, Imperious. Lauren gifted 1 membership to the Powdered Dusty. I appreciate you, Lauren, and congratulations to whoever is now a member.
Oh yeah, all men and women have the right.
god. Oh my god, is that it?
He did ban me again last night.
Who banned you?
Jack. After the show, after you left, he brought me back up and started screaming at me before he blocked me.
I was pissed. He brought me up first, and then he kicked me all the way out of StreamYard. I wanted to eavesdrop, but
yep.
Yeah, I don't know why you keep fucking with him. I have no idea, but let's see. I saw something. You were raised in these YouTube streets, you mean? I thought I saw something down here. Anyways, Imperious thinks I missed the whole thing and I got it all wrong.
Well, naturally.
Right. I will drop the link a little later, but if you would like to come up first, Imperious, then use some of that lawyer money and become a club owner member.
Use really small words.
Huh?
Use really small words.
Okay. Numerology is central to the Bible. It is central to Kabbalah. This seems to be overlooked by many people who read through the Bible and do not question what all of the numbers inserted in there mean. Were you not once a child like I was, Andrew, coming up in the church in Sunday school and reading these verses and asking, why are these numbers in there? Did that ever?
No, I was born an adult-based conservative, ready to have sex with my wife right out of the womb, sir.
Honestly, Andrew, you claim to be Christian. Did you not read the Bible as a child and wonder what it was about the numbers?
No, I didn't think too much about the numbers, but they just seemed like they were chapter indicators, right?
Have you read the Bible?
Yeah.
There's a lot of specific numbers in the verses that go
Yeah,
without.
but those numbers, and most of the time, these numbers pertain to something which is relevant that we're talking about, right? So same thing with genealogy. You can calculate genealogies to X number of years. You can do this in Genesis with the line of Adam, for instance, and you come up with the X amount of years it took to get to Moses, et cetera, et cetera. The problem is that is tying something to something else. So we have reason to do this. We're solving for something, right? We're trying to determine how many years between Adam and this person was it? How many years between Adam and this person was it? Perhaps you could use that to calculate the age of the earth or the age of creation. There could be many various reasons why you'd want to focus on these various genealogies, though in Timothy it does say not to focus on endless genealogies, I believe. But the thing is that aside, it pertains to a reason for us to do the thing. What I'm asking you is a basic foundational question, which is, what is the reason we start with this base other than just because you fucking want to?
What the hell?
Again, it's not because it's what I want to. It's about observing the numbers that exist in this text and trying to understand why. 6 is a recurring number from the beginning of the Bible. For the record, in the Sumerian cipher, Genesis also equates to 666. And I'm sure you're aware that man is made on the 6th day.
I can grant any number of numeric calculations that you come up with as just being true. However, this does not answer my foundational question as to why it is we're going to start with the Bible to begin with. Why? Why do we start with that to begin with? This Protestant Bible, 66 books. Please answer my question. Why are we starting with that? Why?
Is the King James Version not the most recognized version of the Bible in the English-speaking world?
Yeah, that doesn't give us a cause for why we would start with that.
Okay, if you look into the King James Version, they say Francis Bacon was one of the key writers for it. He was into this study of letters and numbers. John Dee, the occultist, who was also into the study of letters and numbers, helped with the King James Bible.
First of all, John Dee was an Enochian occultist, okay? And the thing about Enochian occultists is that they also are all fucking numerologists. And they like to fool the kings that they work for, like John Dee did, by coming up with false Enochian linguistics, completely made up, false, non-testable Enochian linguistics. To this day, they can't be tested because they were all false. And he was able to trick the court that he was working for, John Dee was. So the thing is like, that's not good evidence of anything, especially not Enochian text. That aside, leaving that portion of the occultism aside, John Dee did the same exact thing. He said, foundationally, we need to start with this portion of the Bible in order to decode what angelic speech is, what Enochian speech actually is. He never gave a fucking reason why, though. And so the thing is I'm asking you the same question nobody ever asked him. Why are we supposed to start with a baseline of 66 books from the Protestant Bible in order for us to do these calculations based on that as our foundation? Why are we using that as our foundation? Please answer my question.
Well, you constantly interrupt, first of all.
Me too, Bill.
Do you really think that I've interrupted you?
You didn't even let me finish this thing.
Dude, you have been going and going, and I've been gracious in letting you go and go. I've barely spoken this entire debate. For me to cut in certain times so that you don't continue to filibuster, so I can get the answer to my question is totally appropriate. I've been nothing but respectful. I haven't bulldozed you at all, which I could. I haven't done that at all. I've been graciously allowing you to try to answer this question. But please concisely just answer this. Why, sir? Why are we starting with the 66 books of the Protestant Bible as a baseline to make any other calculation? Why?
Again, I talked to the point of this subject is this knowledge useful? And it absolutely is. Understanding that these people are using the Bible as a playbook and largely the King James Version because of the occultists who are tied to it from the beginning.
He never does answer that question either of what the tie-in is. What's the usefulness of it?
He doesn't answer it in his book.
Result?
He doesn't answer it in his book. He doesn't answer it in this 10-hour live stream, nor does he make any predictions in the book or in the 10-hour live stream. Now, I'll grant that I didn't read every word of the entire book, but I've at least thumbed through most of it.
So you're trying to downplay. Like, I don't care what they said. That's your perspective.
I haven't downplayed anything.
Again, hush.
What did I downplay?
Hush, please.
Hush.
6 from the beginning.
You're not answering my question, dude.
Andrew, in what verse does God regret making mankind?
What verse?
In what verse does God regret making
No
mankind?
idea. What verse?
In the beginning of the Bible.
Okay. What verse?
Genesis 6:6 is where it begins that God regrets.
Yeah. What
mankind.
verse?
Huh?
What verse?
I just answered what verse.
What is it? Genesis 6:6? Are you sure?
Yeah.
That's what he said, Genesis.
Sure that's the verse?
Yeah.
Are you positive?
In Genesis 6:6, God expresses that he regrets making mankind.
Okay. Go ahead.
The point is 6 is recurring throughout the book. I told you 66 is the 11th triangular number. Maybe you didn't understand what that meant. 11 is the master number in numerology. It's a rep digit of 1, like 66 and 666 are a rep digit of 6. Numerology.
Okay. Why are we starting with the Bible for any of this? Why?
Because that's where the knowledge originates from.
So the Bible is the source of all knowledge.
I didn't say that is necessarily true, but the
What is the source of all knowledge? What is the source of all knowledge?
I don't know if there's one source of all knowledge.
Then why are we starting with this Bible?
Because the people who rule this nation, rule this world, which is the church, they use it ritualistically in a mocking fashion.
What did they do before the Bible?
Say that again. I just want to make sure I got that right. What?
They use the knowledge of the book like a football coach.
All right, so let me read a little bit of the book to you, and I'm just sort of picking out chunks at random. The whole book is basically the same thing.
Let me get my revolver first.
Let us examine the number 33, and actually this was totally chosen at random. Let's examine the number 33. In the case of Rodney King, he was beaten on March 3rd or 3-3 by the LAPD, summing to 33 with simple English. This is similar to how police sums to 33 with Pythagorean, and how Trayvon Martin was buried on March 3rd, and how the writing began after Floyd's killing on East 33rd Street in Minneapolis, and that the killing officer Chauvin has a surname summing to 33 with Pythagorean, and that the Cops TV show was dropped by Paramount after its 33rd season because of the George Floyd protests while Detroit was erecting a statue of RoboCop in 2020, 33 years after the film, after the 1987 film. The number 33 is a hallmark of the cabal, and it has everything to do with why the World Trade Centers lasted for 33 years, 1968 to 2001, and why Jesus was crucified at the youthful age of 33. As we're beginning to understand these tragic and impactful events of modern and biblical times, the biblical times are being contrived in accordance with Scripture to fulfill biblical prophecy, tapping into that religious bone in some people's body. Not by chance, the word Bible sums to 33 with reverse Pythagorean, as does Sunday, the only day of the week that has a connection to the number, and the day that was made the one to worship on by force by the Roman Catholic Church, reminding that the Jesuit logo is the sun, connecting to the name of the day, Sunday, And for the record, Sunday and Jesuit are the exact same in 3 out of the 4 basic ciphers, summing to 21, 78, and 84. And in light of scripture and number games, think about how Genesis 11:9 is where the story of God destroying the Tower of Babel ends in light of the demise of the Twin Towers on 11:9. Oh, on 11. So he flipped the date now to write it the way that a lot of the world does, not the way that we do.
Mm-hmm.
On 11:9. And as for the word prophecy, it sums to 110 with reverse simple English gematria, bringing clarity to why it is used and the way it has from 9/11 with the 110-story towers to George Floyd's killing in Minnesota. So
all he's doing is picking facts that match the number he comes up with.
He just pulls wherever he wants to, and however he wants to. And by the way, when I kept asking last night which cipher, which they found irrefutating, they said we only use the 4 basic ciphers. They don't. He just used reverse Pythagorean in that example. Pythagorean isn't even one of the 4 base ones that he said he uses last night, much less reverse Pythagorean. It's hypnotic insanity. Go ahead.
I don't see how where's the tie-in for all this? Even that chapter you just read or paragraph.
It never ties in. He won't ever tie it in. And when asked to tie it in, he goes back into the da, right?
Down a
It'll never
different
tie
hole.
in, but you need to keep looking for the tie-in, right? As long as he doesn't explain the tie-in, because he can't. But even if he could, to explain it would then be to undermine his own hypnotic system. You need the person to mentally try to tab along with it.
Right.
Let's see. We're at 45 likes. When we get to 50 likes, I'll drop the link for the public.